The 629th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMASGPN to claim your first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm's college football and NFL picks and projections are now live. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Howdy ho, degenerinos, and welcome to a very special episode of the MMA Gambling Podcast Network, episode 629. It is August 11th, and everyone knows what August 11th
No, it's
is.
August. It's on August 10th, this one.
Oh, you just don't want me to drop it on your birthday. Happy birthday to Gumby. It's Gumby's birthday, August the 11th, everyone. Make sure you bug him. Yeah, Gumby wants to drop. Okay, fine. We're recording this early. Gumby wants to drop, and Gumby wants to drop it early because you people are fiends for the Dana White Contender Series. So yeah. Gumby's birthday is in a few hours. Make sure everyone bugs him on social media and shows up at his house, because I'm sure he's sitting around doing nothing on his birthday like he likes to do. So I'm one of your hosts. It's not my birthday quite yet. I would be Jeff Chalks Fox, aka the Bearded One. Thank you for coming to the show. We have the Bearded One and the Moustached Man on this here show now. It's Contender Series season. This is the UFC's birthday present to Gumby Vreeland. The thing he's best at, the thing he enjoys the most, the thing he wins the money on is Dana White's Contender Series. And we are kicking things off this week, week 1, Contender Series. Sadly, there's only a 4-fight card as I punch the microphone as we speak. A fight fell off. Gumby will give us all the information on that. And maybe we can do like a preview of the season as a whole, because this is something that Gumby and Jong and the rest of the degenerates in our Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord, have been licking their lips for months, weeks upon months, because this looks like it's going to be a good season of the Contender Series.
Yeah, so first of all, if you want to get all of our Contender Series in regional coverage, because we're also going to hit the PFL and CFFC this week as well, and, you know, all the UFC goodness too, make sure you click the subscribe button. The notifications will help you know when the episodes drop, but you don't even need those. You could turn those off if you want. But bottom line is, please subscribe. We really appreciate it when you do. And then, yeah, in terms of Contender Series, first of all, let's talk about the fight that got dropped off. It was originally supposed to be Islam Dulatov versus Meng Ding. Real fun prospect out of China and really good striker out of Germany. And Dulatov is still going to be on Contender Series. My understanding is they pushed him back. I believe he's week 7 now. Originally, I was like, this is interesting. Maybe it's a visa issue with him since he's just being pushed back a couple of weeks. But now it's starting to seem like there may have been an injury to Meng Ding, because he is not being rebooked. And I know for a fact his is not visa issue, because he was already in the country. He's been training at Timo Nama with Colin Onama down in Timo Oyama, not David Onama.
I just shook my head agreeing with you anyhow. Yep.
Timo Oyama down in California. So he's already been there working out. And, you know, like it was going to be, I think, a really fun fight. The lines had already dropped too. So I saw Dulatov as a big favorite. That's because he's a 6'6" dude in the welterweight division. And he's a mean striker, as we've seen in Octagon a bunch of times. So look forward to seeing him later. They actually booked him with the LFA welterweight champion later. So that should be an absolute banger as well. And then we'll just keep an eye out for whether or not Meng Ding shows up again. All right, guys, remember that time where I told you that Meng Ding probably wasn't going to get a replacement fighter? And now here we are with a little bump in your regularly scheduled coverage, because guess what? As soon as we finish recording, Meng Ding got a new opponent. So we're here to squeeze this breakdown into your Dana White's Contender Series Week 1 episode. His name, as you'll see on the bottom of the screen, is Rami Hamed, and I will turn it over to Jeff so that he can set it up.
All right, let's kick into it. So Ding was not dinged, or maybe Ding was temporarily dinged.
So I said before, I'm pretty sure it was visa issues on Deng's side because they rescheduled Dulatov for a couple months from now. But apparently it must have been, I'm directly contradicting myself in this episode 4 seconds earlier. They'll be right next to each other, which is perfect.
Perfect.
But yeah, so apparently it was actually issues with Dolatov's visa, which as you're going to see a little bit later on in the episode, also visa issues for Ricardo Brito. So we're going to get a little bump in your coverage there too.
See, we want to get your episodes early, but then this is the trade-off. Yeah. So whatever. People, we have understanding fans. All right, let's get on with our part 2 or addendum. We'll tell you about Ding and Hamed. So as Gumby said, it's Meng Ding from China versus Rami Hamed. He is from the place with the flag, with the tree on the flag, which is Lebanon. Cool flag. This is 170 pounds. And of course, last minute. I guess we would consider this last minute for both gentlemen. Did Hamed have anything scheduled that you knew of heading into this?
I think he was originally supposed to fight in like October or something like that, but he hasn't fought in years either. Like he's got a pretty long layoff. So no, I don't know necessarily that he had anything, but Meng Ding obviously just had a full training camp for a big rangy striker. So
yeah. All right. So Ding is the cold-faced assassin. I knew that by copying his nickname and then translating it to English, because it's written in Mandarin, I guess it would be. And yeah, cold-faced assassin is 34-8. Okay, here's the thing about him. He's 34-8. He's been fighting since 2015. And his first fight was December of 2015. Like, I think maybe even New Year's Eve. So he's basically and he hasn't fought this year yet. So basically from 2016 to 2023, he has fought 42 times.
That's incredible.
1 year
he fought the same guy 5 times too. He's already at a quintilogy.
He was fighting every week for a while, and then he took 3 or 4 months off, and then you would fight every week again. Yeah, crazy. So this is all we've talked. This is a promotion we were talking about a few weeks ago, WLF in China, where they seem to have people fight every week. So anyhow, he's got 42 fights, but he's not old. He hasn't been around for very long. He's less than a decade. 27 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted 4 times. He's won 2 straight in 9 of 10. All of those wins, the past 9 have come via finish. Regional champion, used to fight at lightweight. He went 1-1 in 1 championship, so he has fought the biggest and brightest in the world, obviously. 2-1 as a pro kickboxer, 3 years younger than Hamed, an inch taller, 4 inches reach, plus 200. Surprising.
Where'd you get lines?
I got lines, dude. Let me tell you where the lines are. That's right. We were talking about this.
I never saw any Meng Ding line.
Nope. I found it right away last night too. 1 second. So people know. Maybe by the time this is going to drop pretty soon. So, Bet Rivers. So that's Canada, right?
Canadian. I think it was also available in certain select states. They used to sponsor this podcast.
That's right. So Bet Rivers. There you go. Okay. So yeah, Ding is. Are you surprised? I should have made you guess.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Okay, good.
I had a line written down that was literally the opposite.
Excellent. All right, Hamed. I haven't done his stuff yet, and then we'll let you espouse more on hopefully these are advantageous lines for you. Hamed is 12-3 with 1 no contest with 9 knockouts. He's been submitted 3 times, so that seems to be his Achilles heel. He's won 4 straight and 6 of 7. The last 2 wins have come via TKO. He has not fought since December 2022, as Gumby said. He's not lost since December 2019, which helps if you sit in the sidelines for multiple years at a time. Minus 278. So not knowing a heck of a lot about these guys, I had these lines swapped the other way around too. But
yeah, I had him flip-flopped with that. So first of all, I want to go on record saying I had Islam Dulatov to beat Meng Ding. And the big reason why in that fight is, Dulatov was going to have a reach advantage over Ding, which is not something that Ding is used to fighting against. Meng Ding is a guy who's 6'3" at welterweight. He's very long, he's 75-inch reach or a little over 75-inch reach. I'm pretty sure it's listed at. He has got a lot of physical advantages over welterweight, and he was going to be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage and a 3-inch height disadvantage. That was going to be a nightmare for him, especially because he's a touch tentative, which is the thing I thought was really going to do him in against Dulatov. But here against Rami Hamed, I actually think a lot of those things play up because Rami Hamed is a guy who he fights with his hands insanely low, very, very, very low. And kind of leaps in, but when he leaps in to strike, he kind of keeps his head on the center line. He kind of stays there too long. I think he thinks he's Machida elusive. But like the bonus for him is if you watch his last 2 or 3 fights, which I think took place in Titan FC, I want to say Titan FC. They're all against guys who are like 2-3 and like 1-3, and like they're awful fighters. And even those guys have kind of like gotten their mitts on Rami Ahmed before. And, you know, he's got back-to-back TKO victories on leg kicks because the guys he was fighting look like they have never been kicked in the legs before. Yeah. And so like, that doesn't seem like a sustainable model. And those are his only, you know, like since he's been gone for so long, and those are his like last 3 or so fights, like you haven't really seen him in there against anybody good for almost half a decade at this point in time. You know, like he fought Isa Isakov, who was on Contender Series, and Isakov like took it to him, right? Like he took him down when he wanted to, he outboxed him. And here, I think if Rami Ahmed does that thing where he leaps in or he throws a whole bunch of leg kicks with his hands down around his waist, Meng Ding has got power, you know, and that was the one thing kind of like I was sort of hedging on when I was thinking about taking Duatov. And I was like, well, dang, when he does let go, hits really hard. And so for Hamed to be a guy who, first of all, is not going to be like cranking that pressure up to 10 the way that Duatov does. And then on top of that, being a guy who kind of like stays in a hittable range when he even does turn it up, I think that plays really well in the favor of Meng Ding. I'll also just throw in there too, I think Meng Ding by submission is a real probability here too. Because while he, you know, you look, you know, body kick knockout, liver kick knockout, you know, his record's got a bunch of TKOs. He's got really good work on the ground in. While he didn't submit all of his opponents, like I've seen him come really close to sitting in a Darius choke. I've seen him come close to setting in, you know, like, you know, the opposite, an anaconda choke. You know, I've seen all of those different like front headlock submissions come close, and I've seen him do good work from side control too. So with Rami Ahmed, he kind of looks out of his element anytime he's grappled somebody with grappling chops. So would not surprise me here if Meng Ding did that too. The fact that it's plus 200, you just blew my mind. I'm going to take plus 200 on Meng Ding in this fight every time.
What were you going to do if it was the other way around? Say Ding was minus 200.
So I originally thought Ding was minus 200, and I was going to say like, you know, maybe a parlay piece, kind of hoping it comes down a little bit because, you know, like he's good. That tentativeness is like pretty much my only caveat on him. Like, I think all of his skills are UFC caliber, but like his inability so far to like pressure and his inability so far to like be the man in a fight has kind of like put me off of him a little bit. But then again, maybe, you know, like working with Colin Oyama's gym is maybe the perfect thing for him.
Yep. How is he with leg kicks? Because Hamed, this is something you don't ever see. Back-to-back leg kick TKO.
Well, look at the guy's records though. Yeah. Like I mean, like he fought me or you, you know, and you know, and that's not to disparage those people. They got in the cage with him or whatever.
Not to disparage
like,
you and me.
Yeah, or you or me. No, like I mean, I'm sure he's seen a couple in his 80 professional fights.
Yes. All right. Excellent. So that is that fight. And now back. Well, I guess we are going. This is kind of like Jim Cornette's podcast. They're always going back to the future and then going back. I guess we're going back now. We went to the future and now we're going back to the past, right?
Yeah. Let's do that right now.
All right.
And then as far as the rest of Contender Series, you know, the interesting thing is when all the names got announced for Contender Series, I was like, you know, could not be more jacked up. This does look like it's going to be a great season. It's got some of my favorite regional fighters on it and stuff like that. But it is kind of getting cherry picked over by the UFC. You know, Quang Lee, if you're listening to this on Saturday, is about to fight Chris Gutierrez. If you want to talk about that one being pulled, you know, Fatima Klein was pretty much signed to be on Contender Series, and she got the short notice call and fought Jasmine Jasudavicius instead. So it's taken a couple of little beatings here, but very exciting still. A lot of prospects there. And you know what else is the other fun part of it for me is there's a lot of talent on this year's season, and they've been making more of an effort to make it international. But this one, it feels like they flew down to Australia and just started signing everybody they could because, like, you know, Killian Salakid is on there, and Sean Gauchi, and Cody Hedone, and Aaron Tao. Like, all those guys all got signed like in a flurry, it was like basically they were like, do we need a whole bunch of more Australian guys? Like, our Australian guys all aging out? And I think they're going to get a bunch of them. I mean, like, one of them is it's an Australia versus an Australia fight, which is kind of fun. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think Sean Gauchi is fighting another Australian guy. But like they all should be fun fights and exciting prospects. And it's nice to see them hit a part of the world that maybe has been ignored in terms of signings as of late.
Well, they have a deal. It's UFC 305 in Perth, right? Am I right by that? Because I think.
Yeah, but is that's like, that doesn't affect their contenders? Because
no, I'm saying that they have a deal with them where they're going to run twice annual events in that city.
Oh, so they need to bulk up
multi-year
a little bit,
deal. So there's so multiple years, two events at least in Australia per year. So it all adds up. It all comes down to business. So, all right. Before we move on, we're going to break down the 4 fights on this card. We're going to tell you about the Bosses podcast, the main mothership sports gambling podcast. They have launched their 32 NFL team previews. And as a bonus, each team preview will include a code word. Submit the 32 code word phrase, and you could be the lucky winner who gets a $500 NFL Circa future bet. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast and the SGPN app, and of course, YouTube. Not only does this mean it's Contender Series season, it is also Yanni season again, Gumby, which is always good news.
Is he? Well, he's probably back. They're still doing breakdowns with him on that Fight Pass show, the bettor's perspective. Which, by the way, if you're in Fight Pass, just Google the name Daniel Vreeland, and my episode of that will pop right up for you.
I was on the show too. Thank you very much.
No, you weren't. It didn't. It hadn't started yet, had it?
Okay, I was on the.
You were on the old. Yeah, you were on the old version of it.
Yes,
man.
Okay. Sir, Google my name as well. All right,
I was on. You're the old version.
Exactly, and they didn't have me back. They had the younger version back for the new version. Gumby, they had.
This one's being produced by that James Lynch, so that's kind of fun.
Yep, Canadian, of course, because
they're all
we're swarming the sport. Dana White Contender Series, August 13th, Las Vegas, Nevada. It's in the Apex. There's something unique. It should be a unique thing, but it's not. It's just another UFC fight card. Here's the unique part: Tuesday night. So that's one of the best parts about it. Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. ESPN Plus. Usually we got 5 fights, as we explained to you off the top. Ding got dinged, Gumby said, or that's the rumor that Ding got dinged in training, perhaps. And
beautiful, just beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Title for the episode, perhaps. We're down to 4 fights, and I wish these two guys weren't fighting each other, Gumby. They should just both get signed into the UFC.
Fight. It's such a great fight.
Just sign them both. Maybe they will. Who knows? 2 undefeated 6-0 flyweight prospects, and Tuan Ho, who we have espoused about on this here show before, from Vietnam. He's fighting Loner Kavanagh, who's technically from China, but he fights out of Great Britain, right? Isn't he Irish? Or I'm confused because the name definitely.
I think he's half Chinese. I think his dad's or his mom's Chinese.
Yeah. But the name is that's like an Irish name because it's got like an apostrophe in it. Isn't that an Irish name?
Yeah, I think so. But like maybe he trains in the UK and his dad is Irish.
Yeah,
maybe.
Hey, I got no problem with it. I'm just trying to figure things out here.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
guy
good
with
fighter.
A flag and the last name Kavanagh. It will cause some confusion.
Good fighter. Both of them good fighters. I wish they weren't matching them up, but they still don't respect flyweight properly. But anyhow, we shall see who comes through in this fight. Let's break it down. Don't have much to say about Kavanagh actually. Early in his career, that's not to say there's not much to like about him though. He's 6-0 with 4 knockouts. 4 of those fights have taken place in Cage Warriors. And he's the favorite here, minus 258. Antoine Ho, the highlight is 6-0 with 3 knockouts, 1 submission. All those fights are taking place in LFA, so these are a couple of high-level guys. Year younger than Kavanagh, 2 inches taller, plus 210. Gumby and Jong were very excited about this line.
Yeah, and for me, the line was the clincher because I've been back and forth on this fight. And let me give you the technical breakdown of this. So the big piece is that both of these guys are extremely dangerous on the feet. The amount of power both of them generate for an 125-pounder is insane. And they also do it in a very similar way. Both of them have, Antoine Ho switches stances. So he works kind of out of both of them. But when he's standing southpaw, the rear left hand, particularly when it's a straight, is so powerful. It's nice as a counter hook, but it's particularly good when it's a straight rear left hand. Same thing for Kavanagh, big left hand, good counter, all of that kind of stuff looks great. I think Kavanagh does a better job at closing the distance. Like he's got almost like the Muay Thai hop when he tries to close the distance. And for me, that gave him a little bit of an advantage because like Antoine Ho can sort of wind up on his overhand a little bit when he throws it. And as a result, like Kavanagh might be a touch better at sort of deciding when we're striking and what we're doing when we're striking. But at the same time, I also think that jump in by Kavanagh sets him up for clinches. And if you watch some of his older fights, he jumps in, he gets clinched up. He got clinched up by Sean Marcos da Silva. But also, like, if you want to go back to his fight before that, he fought a 4-2 guy. I want to say the last name Scarano. And Scarano got him down. Now, he didn't hold him down, but he got him down because Kavanagh tried to close the distance like that. Big leap in. The Scarano guy got in on his legs and took him down. And against Antoine Ho, I think that's the great equalizer. I think Antoine Ho, what he showed in his last fight against a very good wrestler, was that not only does he have the ability to wrestle, but his scrambling and jiu-jitsu is head and shoulders better than what you would expect of a flyweight with his record. Like he is able, and not only just able to duck under and get to your legs, but like when he fails on the takedown to your legs, he does a really good duck under that and gets under your arms and to your back, then makes you work from that position. You know, you got to break the hands and try to separate. And like all of that is going to cause Kavanagh to be more tentative on the feet. It's going to allow more openings for Antoine Ho because he's not going to be worried about the wrestling. He's not going to be worried about the jiu-jitsu. Even in his last fight where he fought Mikheil Sansong, like if Sansong shot on it, he was like, this is cool. We'll scramble and I'll wind up in the better position. He ultimately won the decision because he could scramble with Mikheil Sansong. And I think Sanson's better in that avenue than Kavanagh. So when I was looking at it, I was like, this fight is so close. And to your point, I wish they would just sign both of them. I feel like Antoine Ho can hang on the feet. I feel like he's got the advantage in the wrestling. You know, even if Kavanagh is a touch better of a striker, you have to worry if he's going to be tentative because of that wrestling. And with all of that being said, the fact that you're getting 2-1 on Antoine Ho is insane because we're talking about this being a razor close fight, sort of expected it to be a pick'em. And I mean, they must be heavily lining the Cage Warriors experience, which, like, as we know, it feels like LFA has been a better path to the UFC anyway. So I'm going to take Antoine Ho here. Big dog money.
Yeah, Cage Warriors definitely hit and miss with the fighters we've gotten.
Yeah, and that's not to disparage Kavanagh. No, because like I said, he's a great prospect. Hope he winds up in the UFC anyway. But like, you know, again, there's different avenues of ways people are going to fight you than just what Kavanagh's seen so far.
Yep. All right. Before we move on, we're going to keep moving on with Underdog Fantasy. First of all, Underdog Fantasy just launched Underdog Streaks. Hit your first 2 pick'em entries and then go streaking. If you can get an 11-0 run going, you can win 1,000 times your money. Plus, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 billion in prizes. And they just added another college football contest for Best Ball. You can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Gumby, do you have any plays for us for whatever day this is?
Saturday, we're dropping it. I'll take Royce Lewis is higher than on his total bases. Or you could go hits, runs, RBIs too, because he gets it done that way as well. But man, that guy is just mashing lately. With the Twins offense, you might worry if there's going to be anybody on base in front of him, but hey, maybe he knocks himself in the process. So yeah, I'll take Royce Lewis is higher than on his total bases or hits, runs, and RBIs.
All right, so sign up with our code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. On UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. And if you're looking for last minute tickets, but you don't want to get ripped off, Game Time is the place for you to go. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. You can check where your seats are in advance. They got zone deals, flash deals, lowest price guarantee. Check it all out. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code SGPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's move on to our next fight. And here we are back in the past. That'll make sense to you. If you listen to the whole podcast, Gumby's going to have a fun time editing this one. That's all I got to say.
Brutal. It's brutal.
I'm glad I'm not Glad I'm not in charge of editing this episode. All right, we have another fight that has just been announced. Usually, Contender Series, like we want to do it early so you people get it in your ear holes and eye holes
and good lines and stuff like that.
Yeah, earlier than a couple of days, and usually it's pretty steady. They announce the season months in advance sometimes, and it stays pretty steady. But no, not this week. Week 1 is had a fight fall off. We had a fight added that we just spoke of, and now we have a replacement fighter that just stepped in for a fight. So this is for a featherweight fight. We got Jose Delgado versus Ernie Juarez. So Delgado would be the replacement fighter. We broke down the other fight and take it out of your mind, and now we have the a new scheduled fight. Have you seen odds for this fight yet, Gumby? Because I have.
No, I haven't seen odds for this.
All right, yet. Good. I'm gonna make you guess. All right, Delgado. We'll break down him first. The new gentleman here. He's 7-1, 3 knockouts, 4 submissions. So he's finished everyone. He himself's never been finished. He's taking this fight on short notice, very short notice. Did you have anything scheduled? Was he supposed to fight soon on Contender Series or not?
No, but he just fought. We just broke him down, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, what promotion was that?
LFA 188. He fought.
Okay, cool. And yes, and now he is fighting again on a week's notice, I guess, around that, we'll say. So he's won 4 straight fights. He used to fight at lightweight. 2 inches taller than Juarez. I won't tell you his odds. Juarez is still a young Titan. He was when we originally recorded this. He still is. He's aged a bit since then, but a day or two. He's 8-0, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions, regional champion. Used to fight at lightweight. 0-1 is pro boxer. And I'm not telling you his odds. So Gumby, what do you think about this fight? Odds-wise, and who do you like in it?
I'm trying not to look in too much to the order that you gave him in. Just
because I switch it up. I try to switch it up on you. So it's right not to read into it. What do you think?
I think
you'll try to guess it. Just what do you think it should be?
So if this fight had taken place with full training camps on both sides, I'd line Delgado at -165. Because he's on short notice, I'll say it's a touch closer. Give me -135, Jose Delgado.
Apparently, the odds makers have not been listening to the show and heard me preach about the short notice thing because he's -278.
278.
Yes. Bet Rivers again. He's -278. Juarez +200.
Okay, so here's the thing. I am taking Jose Delgado. Mm-hmm. And most of you out there will never get to hear my breakdown of Ernie Juarez versus Ricardo Brito. I was really high on Brito as a quick caveat.
We'll release an outtake. Outtake and B-side album. You'll get to hear all the greatest flubs and our B-sides.
And Brito was -380. And look, I think the thing about this is I think Jose Delgado poses a lot of the same problems for Ernie Juarez. Because Ernie Juarez, my biggest issue with him is he likes to pressure. But when somebody circles off the cage and is good with their footwork, he chases. He doesn't cut angles well. He winds up chasing. He also winds up overextending himself, reaching while he's chasing, and he's really counterable. And then you look at a guy like Jose Delgado, and I mean, you could see it all at LFA 188. If you go back and watch any of his fights, like it's the same guy every single time. When he hits you, it hurts. This dude is an absolute animal in terms of just like raw power for a featherweight. And on top of that, once he wobbles you even the slightest bit, you're going to get hit with about 14 different punches in a row. And he works all different levels. He'll throw a couple of hooks, a straight, and then he'll hit you with an uppercut. Like he backs you up against the cage while you're trying to find your senses, and he doesn't give you a single second to breathe. And there's also the chance he just hits you once and knocks you out. Now, with the short notice piece here, I am a little bit worried that Ernie Juarez will shoot lots of takedowns, and Delgado might not be ready for those. But he is an MMA lab guy. He was on that. If you're trying to remember which version of LFA he was on the MMA lab version of LFA that we did a couple of weeks ago. And for me, I just think Jose Delgado at the MMA lab is going to have enough of that wrestling background, enough of that takedown defense, even though I haven't necessarily seen it in LFA or any of the other fights he's had. But I think between the striking, between the way that he works with his footwork, between the swarming, I think it's all too much for Ernie Juarez. And obviously the books do too. You said -278?
Yeah, this is Bet Rivers again. They have weird numbers, right?
I mean, like, yeah, some of those domestic books when they first come out have kind of funky numbers. I'm always like, I love when they have like a weird number we have to talk about like that. But yeah, I was hoping the short notice thing would make him playable. And I would just say I think on short notice, damn near negative 280 is probably just a little too steep for me.
Okay, there you go. So now we're going to go back to the present time. So we're really going to say bye, but we're not saying bye because we have more fights to break down, right? On this episode.
That's right. We're going to go talk about Mikheil Sazhiniani, yes, which we'll have trouble saying when we start that breakdown.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, so we're going back to the past, but it'll be the present for you people. Okay? Okay. We are moving on to second to last fight. I don't think they really call things co-main events on Contender Series. Bruno Lopes from Brazil. Mikheil Sazhiniani. He's from Georgia. I know that much. I know that flag. This is, did I tell you? It's 205. Yes, 205. 3 5-minute rounds if needed. She'll tell you about Sazhiniani or something like that. 13-2 with 12 knockouts. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. 6-0 over his last 6, obviously. 2 straight via knockout or TKO, actually. Has not lost since March of 2022. Regional champion. Used to fight at heavyweight. 4 years younger than Lopes. Plus 190. Bruno, which means Big Bruno, right?
Big Bruno.
Yeah. 12-1. 5 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's been submitted once. He got submitted in his last fight. That was on Contender Series last season. 3-0 in LFA and the champion there. Used to fight at welterweight and middleweight. Regional champion. 2013 Pro MMA debut. 2 inches height over Sazhiniani. Minus 230. So the UFC likes this guy. They want to give him another shot.
Yeah, and I'm going to pick against him here. I'm going to go with Mikheil Sazhiniani. I think, you see that name, you go Georgian. Oh, cool. A wrestler. Yep. No, this dude throws like question mark kicks and shit, like stuff. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you have never seen a picture of Mikheil Sazhiniani, pause the podcast for a second, Google a picture of him so that you know when I'm talking about this guy, how ridiculous this looks, because he's a big Georgian dude and he throws out some of the flashiest looking kicks you've ever seen. And they're real impressive. Spinning back kicks, question mark kicks, whatever. He's got wild flexibility for a dude who looks like he does. And I think that that's perfect against Bruno Lopes here, because Bruno Lopes is a guy who on the feet really winds up on his strikes, right? Like he does like pressuring, and I've actually seen Sazhiniani have a little bit of issue with pressure in the past. He looks a little flustered when people pressure him. But Bruno Lopes also got knocked down by a jab last time he super pressured a guy, right? Brenson Hibiero, hit him with a jab on Contender Series, knocked him down. And that's already kind of a knock against Bruno Lopes's chin. Sazhiniani, first of all, hits really well with those high kicks if he does do them. And then also he throws a lot of good low leg kicks. And while I was kind of knocking Ernie Juarez for doing it too much, Sazhiniani, I think, first of all, has more power behind him because he's a light heavyweight and not a featherweight. And second of all, has used them with bigger, slower, light heavyweights. Because Bruno Lopes, look, he's a good prospect and everything like that. He belongs on Contender Series or high level LFA fights and stuff like that. But anytime you see him throw a low or a rear leg kick, it's telegraphed. You can see it coming a mile away. Sazhiniani keeps that thing hidden, snaps it to the bottom leg. I mean, he pretty much made his opponent not able to stand in one of his recent fights. I can't remember if it was the last one or the one before that. His leg kicks are devastating. So to see him being this kind of light on his feet Georgian dude with really good kicks, I think that's a nightmare for Bruno Lopes. Especially because I've seen Sazhiniani wrestle a little bit. He mostly only uses it when he has been hit a little bit hard and maybe needs a second to recover. But for me, that means if Lopes chooses to wrestle, I think Sazhiniani's got enough wrestling to stop it. Again, he doesn't use it offensively very often, but I like the fact that I know it's in there for the defensive purposes, because I think he's just going to wreck that front leg of Lopes time and time again. And then probably find a finish here with either the hands or something real fun and flashy. So again, another guy who I was really happy that I saw as a dog, because when I handicapped it originally, I was like, I lean to Sazhiniani. I'm hoping he's not, negative 150 or negative 160. And then I'd kind of shrug my shoulders and be like, maybe I'll throw it in a parlay when I get bored. But when he came out at plus 190, yeah, Sazhiniani is the one here.
That's not even an easy name for you to say.
Sazhiniani?
Yeah. All right. Before we get to the main event, Rhythm. It's hard to get a rhythm saying that guy's last name, but Rhythm, spelled differently. Football season is here, and college football and NFL models are now live on Rhythm. Create your own winning betting model or let Rhythm do the heavy lifting for you. You decide what stats matter most to you, and Rhythm builds a custom model around that. Or just let Rhythm and its predictive model do the heavy lifting. Rhythm uses AI projections from MIT data scientists. Rhythm already has you covered for NFL Week 1 and college football Week 0. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RTHMM. Circus Sports is back with Circus Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Imagine the regret you'll feel if you win your office Survivor pool, but you didn't enter the Circa Survivor. Don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas yet before football? Ultimate Contest Weekend is a great time to go out. You can hang out with their bosses, Ryan and Sean, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sportsbook in the world, August 22nd through the 24th. Use promo code SGP15 to save 15% on your hotel room for sign-up weekend. Sign up in person at Circus Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with a proxy. Go to proxy.footballcontest.com to save you $50 with promo code SGP. Now to the main event. The flyweight should be the main event, but anyhow, that's not the way the UFC rolls. We got some middleweights, of course. It's the UFC Apex. They got to put middleweights in the main event. Mansur Abdul-Malik, United States. Wes Schultz, United States as well. 3 5-minute rounds if they need it. We're going to tell you about Mr. Party Time Schultz first on this here card. He is 6-1, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's never been finished in a fight. He's won 3 straight, all via finish. 4-1 in LFA. He's fight at light heavyweight and heavyweight. 1-0 pro kickboxer plus 300. Abdul-Malik is 5-0, 4 knockouts, 1 submission, 1-0 in LFA. He's fight at light heavyweight. A year younger than Schultz, 4 inches reach on him, minus 380 has gone up to. It was 330, he's moved up to minus 380.
That's kind of a bummer. I'm on the Mansur Abdul-Malik side here. I'm probably off that line now. When it first posted, I think it was 285, and I was like much more excited about that. 380s I'm probably priced out there. But the reason I like Mansur Abdul-Malik is, both of these guys, and even so, I've interviewed both of them, and Wes Schultz even said as much. Like, he's a kind of a guy who likes to fight like I do. We really like to throw down in the middle of the cage and mix it up. And we both got a little bit of wrestling that we try not to use because it's more fun to strike. And I kind of like that about these two. They, in their wrestling too, I found, it's not that I don't like their wrestling, but like their wrestling, they use a lot of like low success rate takedowns against bad opponents to get takedowns. Like, I've seen Wes Schultz hit a couple of like lat drops, which, like, not that they don't work, but like, you don't want to be lat dropping every middleweight in the UFC. I saw Mansur Abdul-Malik throw a dude with a German suplex, like Kurt Angle style. And like, you got to appreciate that kind of wrestling, but it's like, also those are low percentage. You're not doing that to everybody in the UFC. So like, from a wrestling standpoint, I think it's kind of a toss up there. I think it will probably stall out, but the big difference maker for me is the hands here. While Wes Schultz has gotten some knockouts, he threw a head kick knockout in his last fight. He's looked really tentative getting going with the hands. Like, he looks like he's a little bit hesitant, and he's a guy who I think likes to entertain. There's a reason his nickname is Party Time. So like, it looks like it takes him a while to feel comfortable with the hands. And I think he's going to be in a position, and this is where handicapping it being on Contender Series is a problem, is like, I think he's going to be in a position where he thinks about making this exciting, where he's trying to make this fight exciting. Mm-hmm. And I think that puts him in a lot of danger early, because Mansur Abdul-Malik has some of the craziest power that I've seen. Like, he goes in and throws like his last knockout, he knocked a dude out from guard. And it was one of the most vicious knockouts I've ever seen in LFA. Like, you can go back and watch it. I know I say like it was a vicious knockout or what, like 700 times a week. But like, man, his knockout last knockout in LFA was insane. So like, he's got crazy power. I think he's got the wrestling defense to stop it. And I just don't think Schultz will find his range early enough or feel comfortable in his range early enough. I've also seen him like, he threw back-to-back hooks against, I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. Is Ben Eddington. I'm going to say officially. He's a 5-5, just like average, regional guy. Schultz went in there and threw back-to-back hooks on him, trying to like just blitz him and be ferocious. And he got countered into a takedown. And he's a guy who I respect his wrestling, but that shows me like when he's doing his striking early on, he can't do that and defend a takedown. He can't have both of those things going. And I think Mansur Abdul-Malik is more nuanced in the way that everything blends together, whereas Schultz is more like, I've got a lot of cool shit, and when I'm doing it, it looks great, but it just doesn't blend with everything else as well as Mansur Abdul-Malik's game is. So again, I think I'm probably priced out at -380, but I do like Mansur Abdul-Malik in this fight.
What's a playable range for you?
I think if it got in, like it was posted in the 2s, granted the high 2s. And my original first instinct was to like pair him and Hikaru Brito. And actually when the line was still available, Islam Dulatov, I was like, maybe just like all three of those favorites together would have gotten you close to plus money and they all felt good. And now that he's ballooned up there, I'm probably, if I'm trying to get, maybe some action on the Brito fight, I'm probably just looking knockout, and probably the same thing here. I'll probably wait until the props are posted and look for some Abdul-Malik knockout props.
All right, cool. You're all set for week 1 now. Let's recap. He's got Abdul-Malik. He has got Sazhiniani. He's got Brito. He's got Ho. And there are your picks. Hopefully,
is that a Hacksaw Jim Duggan reference?
Oh, yeah, it is in a way. Right. Yes, there you go. That's old school for you. The Discord is going to be jumping come Tuesday. It's always busy, but it will really be jumping on Tuesday. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. People love Contender Series because Gumby usually makes them lots of money. So get in the Discord. Thank you if you're watching us on YouTube. Thank you everyone who has subscribed and who are going to subscribe to MMA Gambling Podcast on YouTube. Twitter, SGPN MMA. He's Gumby Vreeland. I'm Jeff Fox, writer. Get in my Substack, play my weekly UFC Pick'em contest. Check out the cool articles I have, all that good stuff at moneymma.substack.com. Gummy's got Top Turtle MMA podcast. I'm not going to ask you about this week because this week has not happened yet. So you probably don't know who's on it next week, do you?
I do. A couple of those, since it's an Australian fight card next Saturday, a couple of those Australians I spoke about being on Contender Series, Cody Hedone and Sean Gauchi.
Very good. So make sure you check all that out. And of course, sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We'll be back soon. Depends when this dropped. If this drops Saturday, we'll be back in a couple of days with more fun picks for you. We got PFL coming up. We've got more UFC, of course, coming up. We got CFFC. We've got Road 2 starting up again. We got lots of fun stuff coming down the pipeline. Talk to you then. It'll be Chuck Zayal, Big Chucks, right? Chuck Zayal and Young Titan. And we'll talk to you then.